Their first single, about a bloke who dressed in women's clothes, was a hit. But all the success was too much for Sid.
I think the fame and fortune aspect was something he really found very hard to cope with. Combine that with, you know, loads of acid, and it was a sort of nasty combination.
Sid left the band in 1968 after taking a trip too far. Roger brought in another mate, guitarist Dave Gilmour. They were still playing Sid's ditties, but Roger had other ideas.
Instead of it being the sort of childlike sort of gnomes and pixies type aspect that Sid had, it became that much sort of more grandiose and structured thing that Roger had.
Set the controls for the heart of the sun.
Roger's style took them to the top of the charts and to a whole new way of recording together, separately.
Roger Waters was backstage, and I heard them all discussing who was going to be the next one in the studio the next day. And I said to them, what, you don't go in the studio all together? And they looked at me like, no, we go in one at a time. It saves arguments.
Have you altered your tone controls, Dave?
No.
Have you altered your volume control?
I don't think so. Why? What's different?
Separately, independently, and yet together, the Floyd set about recording the album that would make them prog superstars. Well, if anyone would let Roger record his bit.
Can I put this down?
Just a second, we're just... I still got finishing the other track.
Okay.
Thankfully, they let Roger put his bit down, and they recorded Dark Side of the Moon, a conceptual pie of emotional breakdown, fear, pessimism and death. Result, 28 million copies sold, 15 years in the US charts, and the third largest selling album of all time.
When Dark Side of the Moon came out, I loved that, and I painted the prism on my wall, and on my school bag, my shoes. I went and bought a prism. It just became an obsessive thing. I had to have prisms and shine torches through them.
And hit albums kept on coming. By 1977, the boys were thinking big, and thinking pig. A big pig, above Battersea Power Station, secured by a piece of string, on the front of an album.
The pig suddenly broke away from its mooring and sailed away. And there it was, sailing up into the sky, this massive 40-foot-long pig. Airline pilots were reporting seeing a flying pig. Air traffic control had to change all the routing of aircraft in southeast England for fear of this unidentified flying pig.
How do you follow that? Ah, the concept album to end all concept albums. Waters' tribute to the benefits of education was recorded under the usual conditions.
I mean, the experience drove me to near madness. You know, there's a lot of speculation about the fascistic imagery within the wall, whether that's an expression of Roger and who and what he is, and, you know, all I can say is, oh, yes.
The wall marked the end of Pink Floyd as a builders' cooperative. An album later, they'd split, Nick Mason and Dave Gilmour taking the Pink Floyd name, and Roger his wall.
Another wall is perhaps the last thing that the city of Berlin needs, but that's what it's getting. 200 yards wide and 30 yards high, made of styrofoam. The largest, most ambitious rock concert ever.
Waters, the most successful hod carrier in the world, performed the multi-million-pound show before 200,000 people, and we've spared no expense to bring you a reconstruction of that very night.
I'm going to now try and knock the wall down with a piece of fish.
See, Phillips.
Are you ready?
Two middle-aged British rock stars have turned out to have more pulling power than any other act in America. In concert ticket sales, Pink Floyd have outsold Michael Jackson, Madonna and Bruce Springsteen.
Yes, without Roger, the most argumentative band in prog survived to record two of the biggest selling albums of the 80s and 90s. And these days they concentrate on solo projects like racing cars, baking giant crumpets, and resting on their royalties.
Okay.
So there you have the saga that was progressive rock. But what now for these noble minstrels? Are they gone forever? Perhaps. Some would say that the Knights of Prog will return when the charts are in direst need, when danger lurks from preening boy men, screeching harpies, prancing infidels. But hark, is that a mellotron I hear?
A gentle rain falls softly on my weary eyes, as if to hide a lonely tear. My life will be forever.
It's the tunes of pop's finest pairings next Saturday. Taste of the top 10 duets in a mo, plus details of a top 10 book coming right up.
Cause you're not here. Cause you're not here. Cause you're not here.
Top 10 progressive rock. Great.